Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
I think we're right on time.
Hello, Maureen and Marco.
Hi there.
I see names, I don't see faces.
I don't have a webcam on this computer, unfortunately.
Yeah. Excuses. Well, unfortunately, you got me.
That's all
So
we
I don't know
need.
who else. Pardon?
I said that's all we need.
Yeah. I'm not sure who else is going to be joining us. So I've got 12:59 according to my Mac computer here. So, whoa,
Likewise.
just turned to 1 o'clock.
There you go.
So, how's the weather down there, guys?
Not too bad. Warm.
I'm up here overlooking Lake Superior,
Ooh.
and it's been just downright gorgeous.
Oh,
That's
that
awesome.
sounds great. Okay, bye, Bobby.
So while we are waiting,
I think your camera is frozen. Or maybe it's just me.
Yeah, it's frozen on mine too.
I see. Guess the internet ain't too good up there.
Oh no. Oh shoot.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you the one that introduced me to Christine Jellison for the photo day?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's me.
I got you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet.
Okay.
Did you get headshots done with her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
Oh,
turned out great.
good. Yeah.
We're back. Guys, I have to tell you up front, we've been having a little challenge with our Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
The new modem just arrived about 15 minutes ago.
Ooh.
I won't let anybody install it until we finish our class.
Okay.
So,
Sounds
how you doing,
good.
Derek? Good to see you.
Doing good. How about you?
Good. Maureen, I had asked the question earlier. How long have you had your license?
I got it the end of May.
Okay. And Marco?
I would have been 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay. And Derek, I think you are probably about 4 or 5 months now, right? 6
Yeah,
months?
a little over that probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And didn't you just recently have a transaction?
I did. Yep.
All right.
Nice.
Congratulations. I forget whether it was a listing or a buy.
It was actually on both sides.
All right.
Yep.
Good for you. And Maureen, how many transactions have you had so far?
None.
Okay.
The same
Marco?
boat.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing. Looking forward to it though.
All right. Yeah. Well, are you in coaching with Trey?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to find the most exciting and the most boring aspect of this position as a realtor / independent business person is prospecting.
Yeah.
And some people
Seems
just
like it.
love getting on the phone. Some people hate getting on the phone. Some people are okay going door to door knocking. Others are great networkers. So figure out what your power alley is and just go with it. I discovered a long time ago that my strength is in networking. I hate cold calling. It just, I feel like a robot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't excite me at all or motivate me. But meeting new people and having coffee and getting into relationship is what I enjoy. So find your power alley, whatever it is, and just go with it and get as many buyer and seller prospects in your pipeline as you possibly can, and keep track of them because it's just a nurturing process. Don't mean to sound preachy, but that's all it is. I mean, just staying in constant contact with them. And think of it this way. Best analogy I can come up with is you own a farm. And in order to get a crop, what do you have to do? You have to till the soil.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do then? Well, then you got to put some seeds in the soil. What do? Well, you've got to water it. You've got to nurture it, protect it, make sure that there's no diseases or insect or whatever else, and then just watch it grow. Does it grow overnight? Nope. It takes some time. So patience is the other piece of this.
Understood.
All righty. And what I found is most new agents seem to find a buyer client first for whatever reason. And I'm no exception. Years ago when I first got licensed, it was somebody that I used to work with in the corporate world. And I was in the cafeteria and she yelled across the cafeteria, "Jim, I got your postcard. I want to buy a house." I said,
Nice.
"Great. Let's get together." So, what do you want to learn from me today? I am prepared to go through the agency stuff, the purchase agreement. You tell me where you want to go, and I will go there for you guys.
Oh, that's a good question.
It'd be great to go over. Oh, sorry about that, Derek.
You're
Go
good.
ahead.
You can go ahead.
I was just gonna say I would love to go over all the documents and whatnot that we'll be getting used to seeing, getting familiar with that.
Okay. And do you know where to find them?
No, not at all.
Yes.
I hear a yes.
Yes.
I hear
They're
so.
under the transaction desk in the MLS
Yeah.
in the North Star Matrix.
If you just lost me.
Sorry.
I'm going to, no problem. I'm bringing you back up because I wanted to bring that one up. Okay. All right. Well, I guess the best place to start is at the transaction desk. So if you have your computers, whether you're able to do this along with me or just take notes, and I'll do my best to demonstrate. You log into Matrix, North Star MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So you've got your code, log in.
All right.
And then you go to home. It's in the toolbar upper left. So you have home, and then I think you have search, and then you've got matrix, going across left to right.
Mm-hmm.
So click on home. And then it's the second item down in the drop-down menu for transaction forms. Those are the Instanet forms that you're going to need for everything to buy or to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when you're ready.
It's taking its sweet time to load.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, those dial-up modems are slow, hitting you, Marco. Maureen, you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I actually went to the transaction desk the other day and I printed out everything and I created a binder so that I could have, so I just wanted to start going through all the documents and feeling like I could understand them before I was actually sitting down with future clients. And
Good idea. Good idea.
Yeah. But what I didn't know is when you do sit down with a future client, do you print those out or do you do everything through Authentisign and do it all digitally?
Yes and no, and I'll come to
Okay.
that. Good question.
Okay.
I'll answer it as we go through. All right. So
Okay.
you're going to come up with something that says something agent. Let's see, agent dashboard,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and on the left-hand side, let me see if I can share a screen. This one. Share.
All right.
Okay. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. So you see dashboard transaction up there. You see all these icons over here. So for a new transaction, you're going to go to this one. It looks like a form.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to use this tool with another form to use Authentisign, you'll use that. Just think of the pen and you got to sign something. But for the most part, let's just go to the form. Click on that. And hope my internet continues to hold. Oh, shoot. Your internet connection is unstable. Yeah, no fooling. We're in Bayfield, Wisconsin, for crying out loud. Everything's unstable up here. Okay, we got it. See all the forms?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now this one that I'm highlighting.
Yep.
Miller Williams, Premier Realty, Lake Minnetonka. We're going to have some forms. MLS, North Star MLS. We're going to use some forms. But for the most part, let's just talk about getting started and go down to residential forms.
Okay.
And you're going to see them all, and they're in alphabetical order. I'm just scrolling all the way down and down and down and down. So you got a lot of stuff that's in here. So, Maureen, to answer your question, let's look for agency. Thought I had that on vibrate. Sorry.
It's all good.
Can't talk right now. I'm busy. Agency relationships. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
I'll pull it up. I'm gonna have to move you guys. Well, no, maybe I got it. It's like watching the paint dry. Okay, we're gonna do it this way. Oh, and by the way, while we're waiting for this, do you guys have a, I hate to use the word presentation, but do you have a consultation document, say in PowerPoint or something, for when you meet with a buyer for the first time or a seller for the first time?
No.
That
Yes,
sounds like
no.
a good idea to start working on that,
No.
doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd be glad to share with you what I put together. They're
Yeah.
also available through Command. So it's just slide, which basically starts with, here's the process. Now, let me show you what the steps are in sequential order. Who's been to the doctor lately? Anybody? Marco, Derek?
Not for a
Maureen?
while.
Doctor, dentist. If you did, and if you've got some sort of medical procedure, they're going to sit you down and say, well, let me explain to you what you're going to expect.
Right.
First time I went in for surgery, they said, okay, you're going to have to take off all your clothes. We're going to have a little pre-op. We'll give you a gown that's all open in the back. We'll take your weight, your blood pressure. Then we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then we're going to take you onto the gurney. We're going to wheel you into the operating room, you know, just step by step so that when she was finished explaining it to me, I thought, oh, okay. All right. I know what to expect now. Thank you very much. So this is about the best analogy I can come up with. Your presentation or your consultation is to explain to your future buyer client and or your future seller client what the process is. Besides the overall process is to talk about how we work together. So this is a state required form. It's called Agency Relationships and Real Estate Transactions. I don't want to repeat what you learned in licensing class, but you know there are different ways in which we can work with clients, right?
Of course.
Or buyers or customers. Notice I made some distinctions because nobody is a client until they sign an agreement, a written agreement that hires us. So in effect, we're almost on a job interview with a buyer and a job interview when we're meeting with a seller to be hired, right? So how are we going to work together? Well, the law requires that we discuss this form. Don't panic. This is not a contract. This is strictly a disclosure, and your signature indicates that I have explained it to you, and we've covered the basics of this. So let me talk about how we can work together. Now, if you're meeting with a buyer prospect for the first time, obviously this doesn't apply. I'm not representing you as a seller. So let's skip down to number 2, buyer or tenant broker. That's for me to represent you, and these are the fiduciary obligations as your legal representative that I will owe you. One of loyalty, obedience, lawful instructions, by the way, disclosure, confidentiality, reasonable care, and accounting. I highlight these. So Maureen, when I'm having a meeting for the first time with a buyer, potential buyer, because they're not a client yet, I do print these out and I get wet signatures.
Okay.
If they are in California and can't meet with me, then I use Authentisign. All right. So use your judgment, but for a face-to-face, I'm going to have them sign it with a pen.
Okay,
So,
if you have them sign it with a pen, then how do you, I guess, how do you upload that then into the system? Or do you not?
Scan it. Either, no, you do. You have to deliver. You have to deliver a copy to them. If they're in the office, you can go back to the copier, make a photocopy, hand it to them. But to upload it, you've got to have a scanner or access to a scanner. The office computer equipment has a scanner.
Okay.
My home office has a scanner. So you
Right.
just scan it in, save it however you want to save it electronically in your computer.
Right.
I have on my desktop buyers and then another on my desktop for sellers.
Okay.
As I'm working with that particular client, I just dump all of the documents into that particular client folder. When I'm finished with it, I just compress it. But all the buyers, all the sellers are in that particular folder.
Okay.
So we have a
So
copy for the
it's
buyer, or
however,
Mhm. I see.
I'm sorry, Marco, what?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I thought you were done talking, but like your internet was lagging, so that you continue talking. Didn't mean to
Oh,
interrupt.
okay.
I was
Sorry
just
about
gonna
that.
say, so we have a copy for ourselves, copy for the customer / client. Does a brokerage get a copy?
That's where you put it into command.
Okay. Okay.
So
Makes
scan
sense.
it in, save it however you're going to save it electronically in
Yep.
whatever folder you're going to use. Like I said, I set up one on my desktop for buyers, one for sellers, and I just have all my sellers and my buyers under that big file folder. So you do have to, after everybody is signed, scan it in, because then for command, you're going to have to pull those individual documents into command for the agency agreement, for the contracts, for the this, for the that. Everyone is broken out separately.
Right.
So I save them separately in my buyer client file.
What part of command do you upload it to?
That's the Keller Williams command.
No, I know it's the Keller Williams command. I just didn't know in what section do you put that in?
Oh, it's in documents.
Yeah.
You have to go down to opportunities. Okay.
Opportunity.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So opportunities, then you go over, you have to set it up obviously for your client, and then you go into documents, and then you add the various documents. So there's a purchase agreement, there's arbitration, there's seller disclosure. So, you know, you have to add them all in individually.
Okay.
Okay. So let me go back over here. Oh, this is fun. Haven't been able to do this before. So these are the fiduciary obligations. You also want to make sure that they understand this paragraph down at the bottom, that my internet is unstable again. Okay, bear with me. If they have questions or anything else like that, they have to go here. We cannot discuss any of that. We can't discuss schools. We can't discuss the makeup of a neighborhood. If they want to know that, if they want information on the schools, you have to direct them to a website. Okay?
That's only if they ask?
If they ask, but tell them about this.
Okay.
You know, the predatory offenders, if they are concerned about anywhere in the neighborhood or the state or the county or wherever they want to live, direct them to this website. So let's back up. These are your fiduciary obligations. So you are hiring me to represent you. We just went over the fiduciary obligations. Are you clear on this? I will be representing you. Yes, Jim, we're clear. Good. There's one other thing that we do need to talk about, and that's dual agency. And as you remember from your licensing class, dual agency happens in one of two ways. One is if I show you, as my representative, I show you one of my listings and you want to buy it. We now have a dual agency situation because I'll be representing the seller on the one hand and you as the buyer on the other. The other dual agency situation is if I show you a property that some agents in my office, and there are 140 of us, but if Minnetonka listing, we now have dual agency. Dual agency is not if you show a Maple Grove Keller Williams listing. It's only Lake Minnetonka.
Okay.
That has to do with the brokerage. Okay?
Mhm.
Makes sense.
So, how are you guys? You comfortable with the agency relationship?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, sign. Just sign. You've acknowledged that. All right, so that's document number 1. So, you want me to represent you? I would be delighted and honored to represent you. And I'd be honored and delighted if my computer would, my Wi-Fi would go a little bit faster. There we go. So we go back. I love watching the Wheel of Death. Just go around.
I like
and
it.
around.
Wheel of Death.
I'm going to, yeah, well, you just feel like you're going to die waiting for it. All right, here we go. We're back. We're going back down to MN residential forms. Click. Now, what do we want? We want agency relationship, buyer representative, 2018. Nope. Buyer representative exclusive, 2020. Yep.
I gotcha.
Ready?
Mhm.
Ready.
Create a relationship. No, I'm just going to create a standalone. So you want to make sure you have the current form. So 2020 is
I don't even see 2018 in my
you can do it.
in my form folder. It's odd. See 2019.
Okay, well, good.
Oh, good. Less stuff to get confused on.
Maybe because I've had mine forever.
Yeah.
I was looking at my my NERDS number the other day. It begins with 462. That says I've been licensed for a while. All right, come on, form. Let's go. Here we are. All righty. This is the buyer representation contract exclusive. I'm pulling a part copy to work along with you.
Okay.
All right. Now, I prepare this ahead of time. When I set the appointment, I'm going to have their name and address. So it's real easy to Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, they go right on there. And it's a formatted document. So the broker, obviously us, not Camerata Numeric, but Keller.
Damn. That must have been pretty bad.
Yeah, we lost them.
We lost him. Unlucky.
So I will tell you guys, because I just took an Authentisign class and I realized there was a lot of the documents I felt like I didn't understand very well. So what I did is I went into the transaction desk like he did.
Okay.
And I went through and I found all those forms and I printed them all out and I created a binder so that I could then go back and ask Trey if I had any questions.
That's smart.
Just, an
Okay.
idea to do.
Yeah, I apologize, guys, that
It's all right.
it's doggone internet. Okay. I think we left off on line 7.
Not even. Last thing
even.
I heard is Mr. and Mrs. Buyer.
Me too.
Okay. Broker, Keller Williams Premier Realty, Lake Minnetonka.
Oh, pretty much.
All right. Got to put in the full name. That's the legal name.
Gotcha.
Line 7 is your date. So you just click on the calendar. If your appointment is today, that's what you click on. I normally go for a 6-month contract. I figure if I can't find something within 6 months, something is wrong. So just make sure that you click it out 6 months. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me get rid of that. All right, scrolling down, line 10, this contract may be canceled by written mutual agreement of the parties. So there's no sense in working with somebody that doesn't want to work with you.
Sorry.
So
Oh,
I summarized, I got one of those upstairs. Broker's obligation. I summarized the buyer's obligation. And the compensation when you are working with a buyer client, where does it come from? I can't hear you, Dirk. I think you're muted. Yeah, it flows from the transaction. Yeah, it flows from the transaction. It comes out of the seller's proceeds. All right. So the buyer is paying for our commission fee, but it's built into the sales price. But we actually get paid from the seller's proceeds. So when you start talking to them about how do we get paid, well, we're not taking a retainer, and we are getting compensated on line 30 at 2.7%. And I tell them, this is how we're getting paid, 2.7%. Or it could be a flat fee. However, within 120 days, or 180 days rather, 6 months, after the expiration of this contract, if you go back, Mr. Buyer, and buy a property that I showed you, you owe me this commission. You owe me the 2.7%. This also says that if you go to a for sale by owner and buy it, you owe me 2.7%. And we do have the legal right to go after them.
Even if we haven't showed them that property, if they find
if
it
we
themselves.
showed them if we showed them the property, any property that we show up to 180 days after the cancellation of the agreement, or if they go to for sale by owner without us, we're going to charge them. We have the right to go after them, even if we don't show it.
Does that also protect us if they go to an open house?
That's why if you're working with a buyer, you got to tell them, don't go to an open house. Don't, if you do, give them my card. Tell them I was on another appointment. Don't fill out any cards. Don't fill out any registrations. Just say you're working with Jim Camarata. He is my agent. Here's his card. He apologizes. He could not be in 2 places at once. He's holding an open house himself right now. But we know that you're going to be honorable. You know, you're going to honor this relationship.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And it works. So lines 56 and 57, you want to buy a residential property for your personal, right? Yes. Okay. It's not an investment. It's not vacant land. Coming down to lines 66 and 67, that's where the buyer bylaw has the right. Now you hear my dog in the background.
There he is.
Goose. Anytime there's somebody coming to the front door. The buyer has the right to choose a closing agent. I always ask them, do you have a closing representative or a closing agent or a title company? Nope. Okay, you want me to take charge of that? Yep. Click.
Makes sense.
And get them to initial. Additional costs, there may be some additional costs, but before we do anything further, we're also going to be talking to a lender, but we'll come to that in just a second. Here's your foreign, your FIRPTA. This is if you're dealing with a foreign seller. You may or may not know it. But if the law that got passed a number of years ago was to capture taxes that were not being collected. A seller could be a foreign person selling the property and skip the country and not pay any kind of capital gains tax. So
Sneaky.
if the seller is a foreign person, the title company will withhold 15% from the seller's proceeds on behalf of the seller. The seller is going to have to file their tax return, but that amount is going to be, and if the seller does not pay it, the buyer is going to be responsible, as it says right here. Buyer's responsibility for withholding the tax, and they could get hit with that later if it falls through.
I see.
Don't scare them. Read it. Don't scare them. You always have the right on 79 to have a home inspection. As a matter of fact, I'm going to insist on it. Don't buy something. It's a used home. You don't know, I don't know, because we haven't lived in the house, the condition of the plumbing, the electrical, the heating and the cooling. We don't know. So I want you to know that up front you're going to have a home inspection. Here's agency representation. I want to be able to show you Keller Williams Premier Realty Lake Minnetonka Properties. So I'm going to have this checked. I want you to acknowledge this. Sign here. I will sign there. I may be working with more than one buyer. There may be multiple offers. Just be prepared that I'm going to be representing you, and we'll be doing our best to get you the property that you identify as the right property. Termination, we can terminate it. The relationship can terminate, but the idea of confidentiality, remember the fiduciary obligations?
Mm-hmm.
Confidentiality, guys, goes to the graveyard. So what they tell you about their motivation, something of a confidential nature, you cannot share it. Even though you no longer represent them, it's got to go to the grave with you.
Makes sense.
There's the predatory offender thing again. The entire agreement is, we don't write these contracts. They're written by attorneys. All we do is fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
Electronic signatures are going to be accepted. If there are any other terms and conditions, you fill it in over there. And again, your name, company, sign it. Same thing with the buyers, buyer, pants on fire. It's a legally binding agreement. If you have any questions, tax advice, I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. I can recommend them, but if you need that kind of advice, you need to speak to somebody that has that expertise. This is included, this document here and in the seller side. It's wire fraud. Just to alert them to the fact that there are some very unscrupulous people out there. And if you get a notification, email or a phone or a text message to wire funds to this location, don't do it until and unless you check with me and or you check with the title company that you're going to be working with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it? Sign. All right, how we doing, guys?
Doing all right.
All right.
Good.
Ready to move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
Yes.
I hope I don't lose you again.
It was just starting to get good.
All right, now we need to go to Keller Williams Premier Realty Lake Minnetonka.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a bunch of stuff here, but for working with this buyer, we're going to go right here, disclosures, waivers, and acceptances. I'm just going to create a standalone form.
Mm-hmm.
All right, actually, we've got two forms. See them all? Okay, any questions?
None so far.
Okay. Let's just testing you, see if you're still paying attention. All right. I highlight these so that they know, buyer, this is where you sign. So this is the home inspection. We talked about that before. I encourage you to get a home inspection. We don't know anything about the buyer or the seller's warranty plan yet. Final walkthrough, you have the right to walk through the property prior to closing. Please initial. There may be multiple offers. We'll do our doggonest to get you the house that you want under the best terms and conditions for you. Please initial. Seller, page 2. This goes on to just re-emphasize, we are licensed to sell real estate. We are not licensed attorneys or tax preparers or anything else other than real estate agents.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? Got it. Sign, initial. For seller, we need another initial here. The broker admin fee that the office will collect is $375. You can tack on a fee. You could make that, a rounded 400. So who gets the additional $25? You do. But the office is going to collect that. Now, they're probably going to ask, well, what is this broker administrative fee? I am very proactive. When I get to this piece, I don't want to be put on the defensive. So I basically say something to the effect that we have one more thing that you need to initial. The state and the federal government require us to maintain our records for a minimum of 7 years. If we get audited either by the IRS or if we get audited by the Department of Commerce, we have to pull all the records that they request. So that broker administrative fee is not going into my pocket. It's not a commission fee. It's a broker administrative fee to take care of the cost to staff to store the files and for staff to pull all of those files if we were to get audited. Initial there, please. Seller signature, buyer signature. Yeah, so depending on whether you're working with buyer or seller, you're working with the buyer, so it goes over here and you sign it. The second document is just disclosing that we have relationships with Minnesota Title, New American Funding, that's Tanya, and Keller Mortgage. So you are not required to use any of these, but because we do have relationships with them, and these are their approximate costs, we need to fully disclose this information to you. Please sign down here. All right, simple. So far, so good. All right. Depending on the timing, if you've had some conversations with these people prior to your sit-down consultation, getting them to sign the agreement, I will not take anybody out until and unless they can prove to me that they have been pre-approved for a mortgage. I have a client right now, and she keeps sending me these properties, and of course they're all pending. They're all sold. I don't know where she's looking, probably Zillow or something. And I keep saying, what is your approved amount? Have you gotten the approval letter from the lender that I set you up with? And going on 2 months now, she has yet to file the application and get pre-approved. And guess what? I haven't shown her one blasted property. And I will not show her a property until she's got that pre-approval. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Because what if I show her a $400,000 property and she's only qualified for $250,000?
Right.
Duh. Shame on me.
Okay.
And then, of course, she's going to fall in love with that property and she can't buy it. So pre-approval is really, really important. And get it in writing. And when you submit an offer, you want to make an offer on 123 Main Street. It is listed for $300,000. and your buyer client is approved for $325,000. The loan officer is smart enough and schooled well enough to prepare an approval letter that says Mary Jones is approved to buy 123 Main Street, you know, a conventional financing with whatever. Okay, so they're not going to reveal a whole lot of confidential information, just that they are approved to buy that property. Now, I've worked really hard over the years to establish relationships with loan officers and title people, so that they're a part of my team. So if I recall, you know, Tanya, I said, okay, what's their max budget? Just don't go over 350, Jim. That's all I need to know. Thank you very much. Conventional, yep. How much down? They're going to go 5% down. Okay, so I know how to structure the offer when we're ready. All right, how we doing, guys? We're about 40 minutes into it. I hope I'm not boring you.
40 minutes. Wow, I never would have guessed.
Yeah, you would have.
That's crazy.
Don't lie to me. Derek is over there just cracking himself up. All righty. Let's go back to the forums, and hopefully my Wi-Fi will still remain strong.
We can no longer see your screen. By the way, I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Oh, good.
Like we've been I've been following around, or following you along, I suppose, but I cannot see your screen.
Oh, really? You can't see my screen? Okay, hold on. What about now?
Yep.
I wish you had told me sooner.
Yeah, shame on me.
Okay. Here I was having all this fun all by myself. All right, coming back to residential forms. So, you know, what do we have? We have the agency disclosure. We have a buyer agency exclusive contract. We have all of the Keller Williams disclosures signed, and you're going to deliver them. They have been pre-approved. You start to show them properties, and lo and behold, they walk into house number 3, and they go, "Oh, Derek, I love it. I want to buy it." So, Derek, what do you say? I love it too. Let's sit down and let's prepare an offer. So we go over to forms, scroll all the way down, and it should be up around in here someplace. There we go. You're going to have purchase agreements for vacant land, for new construction. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are we together?
Yep.
Yes.
Guys, can you hear me? Okay. I just had the warning that my Wi-Fi is unstable. Go to purchase agreement. Notice the date, 2020. Create a standalone form. This is starting to look like my office. Forms all over the place. Where'd we go? I had it here. What did I do with it? I was so organized, I had it in a folder. There we go. Purchase agreement. I'm going to move you guys up to the top. Can you still see the screen? Yep. I mean, can you still see? Okay, good. All right. This is the fun part. This is what I enjoy doing. I love selling properties.
Makes sense.
So here's your purchase agreement. Basically the same thing. The date of the purchase agreement is this date right here. This is the date that you write it. Mm-hmm. The date of the contract is all the way down at the bottom. All the way down at the bottom. Right there on line 506.
Wow.
When you have a complete meeting of the minds, a complete meeting of the minds, you now have an oral handshake. Everything has been agreed to. This is the date that gets put in here, okay? Because you can be countering back and forth, but this is the date of the contract, of the PA. So let me go back up to the top. Hope I didn't make you too dizzy. All right, so buyers' names. Earnest money. Generally, rule of thumb, 1 to 2%. Try to get as much as you can. So if it's a $300,000 house, get $3,000. Wrong as possible, because in this price range, there's going to be competition. And so you want to prove to the seller that you've got a good bona fide buyer. So get as much as they can afford. So if it's 3,000, put in 3,000. It auto-populates. Listing broker, unless otherwise specified, listing broker will hold the earnest money. And MLS allows us to transfer those funds electronically. I've got an earnest money check being mailed to me, and I'm sitting there going, why? This is Coldwell Banker. You know, this is not some schlocky little realty company like I had last month. You know, they didn't have it set up. I said, what's going on? Well, the buyer isn't totally comfortable with transferring funds electronically. They wrote us a check. Okay, we're going to hold it. But it's got to be deposited real fast. So here's the street address of the property, yada, 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 legal description. These are all of your inclusions. And as you read down through them, have your multiple list sheet right next to you, because you want to look through and say, okay, it's got the sump pump, yep, sump pump is there. Fans, yep. Oh, the drapes and the curtains and the window coverings, yep, yep, yep. Attached mirrors, yeah, garage door openers. Doorbells. Don't laugh. You know, the new technology, you know, they want that. Thermostats. This is what got added this year. Applicable software, permissions, passwords, codes, access information. If you have a smart house, we just installed electronic locks. This is our vacation house. And when we're not going to, but if we were to go to sell it, we would have to give them all of this code on how to use the electronic locks, okay? So if there's anything else that is not listed on here, this is where you add it. So if Aunt Bessie comes with the house, type in Aunt Bessie. But anything that's not going with the house, you put in here. Nope, the washer and dryer will not convey. Okay, so excluded are the washer and the dryer. Purchase price gets typed in here. And again, as a buyer representative for your client, you can help interpret the comps. If you do not represent the buyer, you can't interpret the comps. That's law of agency. But now that you have a buyer client, you can help them understand that the houses in this neighborhood are selling in a day and a half, and they're typically selling for 5% above asking price. So what do you think we should offer? Duh.
Right.
Something that's going to get you the house, right? So make it a strong offer. How much cash? Well, we're going 5% down, we're going 10% down, or all cash. If you have a client that is going to write 100% cash, you will need a statement from Merrill Lynch or wherever they have their money parked. You need a statement of their funds to prove that they can pay all cash.
How common
I
is
just
that,
went
do you
through
think?
this with a guy. Pretty common. I just got one.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, they wanted to offer all cash for it. And I said, fine, where's your financial statement? Oh, I forgot to ask for it. I said, well, you got to get it. I'm not going to present this offer until I get it from you. So the other agent got it to me within about half an hour. And then I presented it. I'm representing the seller. I'm going to protect their interests. If I'm representing the buyer, I'm going to make this foolproof to make the seller want to start panting to sign this contract for your buyer client. Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right, so depends on what you got here. One of the other things that I do before I even prepare this is I call up the other agent. I ask them if there are other offers, and they can tell me if you can still hear me.
We can still hear you.
So, are we still there?
Yep.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
because I just got another warning.
I had dog barking.
And find, you what, Maureen?
I had a dog barking, so I had to mute myself.
Okay, no problem. Find out what their closing time frame is. One of the very first offers that I ever wrote, the buyer wanted to sell his house, didn't want to make it contingent, but he said, let's write it up for 5 months. That should give me plenty of time to sell it and close it. And I'm sitting there going, 5 months? I got to wait to get paid? No, I was thinking 5 months. Do you think the seller's really going to take it? The seller took it. You know why? Because they were building a new house, and their new house was going to be ready in 5 months. A win-win. So find out what their closing date is. You can also type in here an on or before date.
Okay.
So 10/1/2020. Oops. Got to go in here. Well, they only allow you so many. 10/1/2020, or just flat out 10/1/2020. Okay.
Makes sense.
The reason the honor before is there might be some other circumstances that they may have a bunch of cash coming in from an estate or from grandma who just passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be any number of reasons, but just find out from the other agent.
Can I ask a question?
Property address is going to, yeah, go ahead, Maureen.
So my question about when you write the closing date,
Maureen?
can you hear me?
I can hear her.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So my question about when you write the closing date is, do you have to confirm that closing date with the lender first?
I would.
Okay.
There are some lenders who are extremely efficient. And if you say, can we do it in 30 days, which is typical, they'll most likely say, yeah. If they're backlogged, they may say, let's just be on the safe side and say 40 days. We're just, or they may come back and say, yep, we can do it in 10 days.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Property address will auto-populate. Mortgage financing is or is not conditioned, first mortgage or subordinate mortgages. If you get into something like that, either give Trey or me a call. We'll walk you through these. If it is a conventional finance, you just check that one.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an FHA, you check that box. Don't forget to put in your amortization. Typically, it's 30 years. That gets your monthly payment down. Interest rate, no more than. Okay, what's today's interest rate? What can you get a 30-year fixed rate at? Which is bad English, but.
Good question.
Probably 3.125. I
They're
saw
low.
3.0. I saw
Yeah.
They're dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So in that box, I would probably say 3.5 because it says no more than.
Mm-hmm.
But what would happen if something worldwide affected the interest rates and they went up to 3.35 next week? Well, because you had set it no more than 3.5, you're safe. You don't have to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It'll still be below that 3.5, but it'll be 3.35 or whatever the heck it is that day. Now, they can also let it float until the loan officer suggests, let's get this thing going. I also recommend the mortgage financing contingency down here. You can use either one. It's not going to make or break the contract. I just always make sure that I've had good written relationship with my loan officer and that I can trust him or her to give me the right and accurate information.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, sort of populated. Unless you're dealing with an engineer or a lawyer, they're typically not going to read all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of, I'll ask them up front. Do you want to read it all? My internet is unstable again. Am I still live?
Yeah, we can still see.
No? Okay, I heard you, Marco. All right. Okay. So just ask them whether they want me to go through everything in minute detail or just highlight. And in 99% of the cases, it's give me the big picture, just highlight it. Okay. Lock in anytime prior to closing or within 5 days of closing. Lender's commitment, seller agrees to pay up to, this is where you get into FHA kinds of properties, because the FHA appraiser may look at it and say, doesn't meet code, you need a handrail on that staircase, and so to bring it up to FHA standards, that may cost the seller $250. So that's where you would type in $250. On a conventional loan, just type in 0. Talk to your lender before preparing this. If there is a reinspection fee, which is typically about $50 or sometimes I got 2 schnauzers upstairs. Typically, the buyer will pay for that. Here's your FHA, financing only, which then also says it better appraise for that sales price. You can always add that on anything, but that's typically it for FHA.
Mm-hmm.
Other types of financing, again, talk to your lender and have him or her walk you through some of these specifics. But typically, you're going to be involved with either conventional or FHA. VA is another animal altogether. Your buyer may or may not need financial assistance from the seller. So this is where your lender is going to tell you, yep, they're going to need some help. How much? Well, the lender will allow up to 3% typically for a seller to pay or allocate to a buyer towards their buyer closing costs. So it could be a percent or it could be a fixed dollar amount. So again, working with your lender, what, if anything, is or is not, will the seller be contributing to buyer's closing costs? Work with your lender on that. Inspections, I always encourage my buyer clients to get a home inspection. So elects, it is contingent, because what if it fails? What if the roof is bad?
Mm-hmm.
I had a buyer last year, 3 houses wrote offers on. Every one we had to cancel because of the home inspection. There was stuff that was hidden by the seller. There was roof damage in one case. The windows on another were so bad that it was probably a $30,000, replacement job.
Wow.
And first-time home buyer, and she's saying, Jim, I don't have that kind of money. So got out of the contract.
Mhm.
3 buyers, 3 homes because of the home inspection. So
That's
it's
crazy.
important. Yeah. Oh, and watch your time frame. And I'm going to come to that in the next page. Seller does or does not allow to perform intrusive testing. Does not. Unless you're in the city of Minneapolis, then they've got some new requirements that do require the home inspector to drill a hole into the wall.
Oh, that's what they mean by intrusive.
I love government. Not. Mm-hmm. Yep. Watch your days here on line 185. If you know you're in competition, you may want to shrink the number of days. Typically it's 10. When I know I'm in competition, I'll sometimes put in 5, 7, maybe 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the date to get it scheduled, to have it inspected, and to negotiate any items that the buyer wants the seller to remedy. So if you put in 8 days, that's your window period to get everything done. If it looks like it's going to go beyond, what do you need? An extension. That's an amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So watch those days very, very, very carefully. Other inspection items, maybe radon. Maybe the chimney. Okay? Could be any other number of things. Getting the message again. I'm unstable. Well, my internet is.
Mm-hmm.
Sale of another property. It either is or it isn't. If it is, then you need another form, which is contingency.
Mm-hmm.
Or number 3, buyer has the financial ability to buy. Taxes, typically you prorate from day of closing. And I know they went through all of that in your licensing class.
Mm-hmm.
If, and typically if it's a homeowner owned, it's going to be a homestead. If there are deferred taxes or special assessments, I always have seller pay, seller pay, seller pay, seller pay. The listing that I've got pending right now, there was a special assessment, and the trustee for the estate is going to pay the balance on it. A year and a half ago, we had a condo listed downtown, and it had a special assessment of $65,000 for deferred maintenance on the building.
Okay.
We were fortunate enough to find a buyer who was willing to split that in half with the seller. But we had to disclose all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then has or has not received the notice of any other special assessments. If the buyer had entered into a contract on another house, do they have to get out of it? Are you waiting for the seller to sign a cancellation, or does it not apply? Deed and title, typically it's a warranty deed. In the pending listing sale that I've got right now, it's a trustee's deed. So you may want to double check with the listing agent.
Mm-hmm.
Possession is typically immediately upon closing. If it's something other than that, then you either have a post or pre-occupancy agreement addendum. Prorations, yada, 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 title and examination, yada, yada, yada. But I do want to bring your attention to this. If for some reason the title search indicates some kind of cloud on the title, it could be an encroachment. It could be an easement that was not recorded. It could be that somebody illegally signed something along the way. The contract is automatically extended 30 days to allow the seller to correct the problem at their expense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This is typically not going to take place. Mechanics liens, typically not, but the the title search will uncover mechanics liens and such. Risk of in case there's a fire on the property before it actually closes. Time is of the essence means just that. Hang on, I've got a lawnmower going by me. Time is of the essence doesn't mean, when I get to it. We're not in Italy. The Italians have no concept on time. The Germans, on the other hand, when they say that train is going to arrive at 2:01 and depart at 2:03, you know it's going to be on time. The Italians, it may or may not be on time. But in this contract and every other piece of document, time is of the essence. So when your home inspection due date is, what is today, the 19th? If it's September 1 for a due date, by golly, it better be September 1.
Mm-hmm.
Calculation of days, it depends on the home inspection. Let me go back up here. Where'd she go? It's calendar days. So that's Saturday and Sunday and holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But in other cases, it may be business days. Don't include these guys. Walkthrough. You should get a disclosure of the condition of the property or a disclosure alternative. You're more likely to get a disclosure alternative if it's a trust or an estate sale, or if it was a rental property and the homeowner never lived in it. Seller warrants, city, sewer and water, yes or no. Sewage system, yes or no. Private well, yes or no. If you have a private well or septic system, you need an addendum, separate addendum.
Mm-hmm.
Home warranty, lots of times the seller will provide one of those little Hummers. Let me flip the switch for a second. If you are working with a seller, encourage them to put on a home warranty. It's a great liability tool and it's a good marketing tool. Just recording who's representing who. So if you're the buyer's agent, that's yours. If I'm the listing agent, where am I going to be? Seller's agent. Dual agency may or may not apply. If you are selling a Coldwell Banker listing, does not apply. You do not have them sign if you do not have dual agency. If you have dual agency, you have them sign.
Makes sense.
Okay? Closing costs, settlement statement. The lender that they're working with will have a complete breakdown of the estimate of their closing costs. And a couple of days prior to closing, you'll get an ALTA statement that they sign. So this is it. The entire agreement, electronic signatures are allowed. The final agreement is everything. If you do have different addenda items, check off the appropriate one. If you do have a foreign seller, this is where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Seller signs there, buyer sign here, buyer. And final acceptance date is after everything has been totally negotiated and buyers sign here. And there's your wire fraud disclosure once again. So you have them sign it again. Well, Jim, I just signed that. I know. You're going to sign it again. Questions on the PA? I know there's a lot of stuff in there. We went through it relatively quickly. My best suggestion is to just sit down, feel pressured when you are preparing this thing. So remember how when I started a new form and it asked me whether I wanted to have a standalone form or to start a new transaction?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're going to start a new transaction for Bob and Mary Jones, that's what you set up. And all your forms you keep adding to that transaction. And every time you complete one of these, you hit save and save.
Okay.
Because
Makes
then when
sense.
you're ready to send it, you've already got it in one file folder, Mary and Bob Jones, and everything that you need is right there. And that's also what you would use for Authentisign. Everything is right there, and Authentisign will understand where the various signatures go because it's been programmed to work with these forms. All right, questions?
Okay, so you said that in the one part where you would call up the other agent and ask if there were any offers on the home.
Yep.
So when you're putting in an offer, is all this paperwork filled out first before you put in an offer? Or are you calling the other agent first before you're getting all of this filled out?
Okay, Maureen, are you referring to the agency stuff? Because that'll all be done prior to taking them out and showing them property. If you're talking about the purchase agreement.
Yes, like making an offer on, if you're making an offer on a house, you're having all of this filled out first?
Yeah, I mean, you just went through 3 properties and number 3 was the hit, and your buyer client says, Maureen, I want to make an offer. Okay, stand by. I will get on my computer and I will, prepare all of this. So that's when you prepare it, and they can either be live and in person and they can sign it wet, or they may have gone home and you're at your office. You can send this to them electronically. But I would talk to the other agent first because you need specific information about closing date. If you know you're going to be in competition, do you have to be super, super aggressive? Man, today is one heck of a busy day. People are supposed to be coming here tomorrow, and the lawn's getting mowed. We're getting sprayed for bugs, and it's a zoo out there. Sorry for the distraction. Squirrel.
All right.
And you can hear the dogs. They're going crazy. So if you know you're in competition, you know you're going to have to be super aggressive on closing date. You're going to have to be super aggressive on purchase price, the contingencies that you put in there, the contingency dates for home inspection. I saw one the other day come through. They're going to have a home inspection, but it's not contingent. Okay, have your home inspection. It's for information purposes only. And we're selling it as is, so don't come back to us with requests for this and requests for that. So there are different addenda, and pardon my shirt here for a second. There we go. Let's say the seller has to stay in the house a little bit longer and the buyer says, yeah, okay. Well, there's already a form for that. And it's called the addendum or amendment to the purchase agreement, seller's rent back. If for some reason, and this form was designed back in March, you think there could be some delays because of the coronavirus, well, we have a coronavirus addendum.
Look at that.
If you are selling the property as is, then you will have the seller disclosure alternative with the little box waiver checked, and an as-is addendum that basically says, yep, we're taking the property as is. If the buyer has a property to sell, well, there's another addendum. And it's called the Addendum to Purchase Agreement, Sale of Buyer's Property Contingency. That's a tricky one also. So not to confuse you anymore, if and when you have a situation like that, call me and I'll walk you through it.
Okay.
So let's say you make an offer, price is 300, so you're 25 over, and the seller counters. So I thought it was a pretty good offer. What are you countering on? Well, I don't want to pay your closing costs. So you will get one of these back from the listing agent, and it's called the Addendum to Purchase Agreement Counter Offer. So it'll say everything else is acceptable, but I'm not going to pay any of the buyer's closing costs. That's line 17. So that's a counter. It's also in legal terms, a rejection of your offer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a counter. And you go back to your buyer client and say, how do you want to respond? What do you want to do? Are you willing to accept that or not accept it? So if they accept that, they sign it. The PA is dated on line 507. And this date is the same date as the purchase agreement, line 507. So if that's agreed upon today, whatever today is, 18th, 17th, that's the date that goes on there. Okay. I know I've thrown a lot at you in the hour and a quarter that we've been together.
Yeah, a little bit.
And Wendy says, that's a 2-hour class. Okay, I can stretch it. I can do hand puppets, or I mean, I can. We can go into a whole lot of other. We can go into a whole lot of other forms. I mean, you know, there's just a ton of stuff in here. So you tell me what some of your other questions are, and this is your workshop, not mine. It's your workshop.
Just show us the DocuSign real quick. How you're sending these documents over into DocuSign and sending them out to people in DocuSign.
Sure. Okay, let's use this PA since we're already here. See where I'm going?
Yep.
To the pen? Yep. Okay, so yes. Doodah, doodah. The wheel of death. Actually, the command has that wheel of death. It just keeps going around and around. And I'm getting warned I'm unstable again. We already knew that. You can also use Authentisign for any other documents that are not from Authentisign. You just have to do a manual setup of the signatures and the dates where they're going to go. I think this is taking a while because it's a pretty large document. It's, what, 12 pages? Yeah, and 500 plus lines. Probably should have picked a shorter one. Whoop, it just paused. So maybe we're ready. Aha. There we go. How about that, huh? All righty. So, always have this one simultaneous sign. If you've got more than 2 people, because you are also going to be a signer. Oh, I forgot the arbitration. One of the other addenda that will be included, it's not part of the PA, but it has to go along with the PA, is the arbitration addendum. And that basically says, if after closing, there is an issue and the buyer wants to go after the seller because they didn't know about the rat infestation in the basement or the bats up in the belfry in the attic, If they want to go after the seller, arbitration is one tool of allowing the buyer to go after the seller. You either have arbitration or you have a lawsuit. A lawsuit will take time. A lawsuit depends on the availability of the judge and the court time. The lawsuit, you're going to be paying a lawyer roughly $350 to $400 an hour to represent you. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Mm.
Arbitration, on the other hand, limits the amount of the lawsuit, I use that in quotation marks, to $10,000. So if it looks like it's going to be a major thing, don't have them sign the arbitration. But if it looks like it's just going to be something minor and the maximum payout is under $10,000, arbitration is a great way for the buyer and the seller to come to an agreement. They basically turn it over to a third party, an arbitrator, who then makes the decision to award either to the buyer or to the seller. It's a whole lot less expensive. It's like maybe $300, and it's a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
So talk it through with your client. If you're talking to an attorney, the attorney is always going to tell you, never sign an arbitration addendum because they want to go to court. Okay. My trustee, seller, client says, I'm not signing that. Okay. I don't care. But in order to have arbitration, all parties, buyer, seller, and agents have to sign it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if one person refuses it, you don't go to arbitration. All right. So simultaneously, so if you're sending it to Mr. and Mrs. Seller and you got two different emails, they can sign it at the same time. They can sign it one before the other, but it doesn't matter to authenticign because you've checked that box. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Participants. Yo, participants. Oh, I think because I didn't fill in anything. Oh, no, there we go.
Oh, okay.
You could either have them saved in your contacts or it's a new participant. Oh boy. Can't wait to get that new modem installed. All right, so this is where you go. And I'm the buyer. Okay. So if you have Mrs. Camerata, you'd click on another. My connection is unstable again. Okay, there we go. If you have a trustee, this is where it would go, down here. So I'm going to take me out. And remove that. All right. So we'll add. It's probably not going to let me go forward. I'll just add another. Okay.
You get the basic idea.
Like the speed with which I typed. All right, add. These fingers have gone fast. Yeah. All right. So I'm a signer. Now let's bring up the document. Bring up the document. Oh boy, everything is slow here today. Document, please. Yeah, there we go. There's our document. Just took a little bit longer. So it automatically pulled up the PA. Now, if I had other documents, other addenda, and I had it saved under Bob and Mary Jones, all of those would be listed right across. All right. So by design, this is saying that it's going to prepare this 13-page document with the space for your buyers to sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, since that stopped, I will assume they're almost ready. Poof. Still loading. It's a big document. It's 13 pages, 500 some odd lines. There we go.
All right.
So it's going to go through and it's going to look to see where initials need to go or not. How about that? There's one. Now, dual agency. This is a test. We're writing this PA on a Century 21 listing. Do we sign that box or not?
Century 21.
Yep. So just dual agency apply.
No.
Okay, Derek, you're right. You get the prize. Do I sign?
No, leave it. Leave it, I think.
The answer is no.
So Century 21 doesn't allow dual agency, I assume.
Well, we don't have dual agency. Dual agency is only within the same brokerage.
Oh,
so
I see what you're
Williams,
saying.
Premier Realty, Lake Minnetonka.
I gotcha.
So I just removed the signature box.
Mm-hmm.
I clicked on it and I hit trash. So you have to look at that carefully. Okay, this is all set up. And let's say I wanted to add myself again. Did you see what I clicked on? Drag and drop. So I'll do a little drag and drop. And here's the timestamp and put it there. So now I've got two signing. Where that would happen is if I have another signature person. So if there was a Mrs. Camarada, you would just hit that. Right now it's just the one. All right, but signature number 2 would then go down there, and it's there. Pretty easy. It's all done for me. All the signature lines and boxes, they're already there. Since that really doesn't apply, hit trash can, gone.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Then I click next. You from New York?
No.
Bada boom, bada bang.
Okay.
You hit next. I'm all choked up over this. And send out the invitations. Bing. And away they go. And it's going to show up in their mailboxes. Successfully sent. Okay. Good. We're done.
Easy.
So I believe in your packets, you do have a checklist, yes, of stuff that you need to include. Was that a nod of the head, Derek? Okay.
Yep.
These are all of the documents that have been signed. There's the Kingsley cancellation, offer number 2. And just keep on going down. All of my different transactions that have been signed and or closed. If you want to take a look and see what my transactions are. Boy, this is slow. Hoo-wee. Okay. Now, because I'm the broker, I get to see everybody's.
Ooh.
These are not all mine. Let's see if any of mine are up here right now. Oh, there's mine. That's one of them. So I can go down, I can click on my transaction and pull up all the stuff that I need for that particular transaction on Kingsley Court. So it's got all the forms that, remember I kept on saying, you know, save them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where they are. There's buyer representation contract, you know, so on. More documents over here. It's a great little tool to make your job a whole lot easier. You're going to laugh. Was done on 8.5 by 14-inch paper. And it had to be filled out in blue ink. Then I had to take it over to the copier and make 5 copies and assemble those and take it to the buyer to sign every document that needed a signature, 6 different sets.
Oh boy.
And all 6 would then go to the listing agent, who then would present it to the seller, who then, if they accepted it, had to sign it. So one set would be for my buyer client, one set would be for my office, one set would be for, you get in the picture? It was ridiculous. So the fact that we have Command, let me drop this down, go to Command, and then you can save your documents by client. And everything is in here by client. And if you can't remember who your clients are, just go back down to opportunities to find them. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Don't tell me I have to log back in again.
Probably gonna be.
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
Come on. No copying my my password.
Oh, I already have it written down. Too late.
Dot, 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 dot.
Exactly. They're my clients now.
Okay, so opportunities all up. So you go to all opportunities. All opportunities. Can you see the warning that comes across? That says my internet is unstable.
No, I think that's present within Zoom.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I'll take your word for it,
So
though.
it's trying to find all opportunities. Well, anyway, under Command, you upload your buyers, you upload all of your documents, and Heather has all of those. John Butler, okay. It's just being contrary. John Butler also looks at the different documents to make sure that they're complete. And if something is missing, he's going to tell you what's missing.
Mm-hmm.
This just does not want to cooperate all of a sudden. It's acting squirrely. Okay. Oh, it just came back.
Lost you. Oh, there we go.
There we are. Okay. Now let me just flipped on. It is just slow, slow, slow. All right, so go to the documents. This is what you fill out. You start a new opportunity, and then it gives you, this is how Heather knows about the transaction because she sets it up in a program called Winmore. And that's how we get paid, guys.
Ooh.
This thing's just taking forever. I apologize. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Okay. So we have the consultation, which is for buyer. We have under contract. And of course, we've got all the different forms over here. And then because it is closed, it'll have everything else. But there's the final PA. There's the arbitration, there's the compensation, seller disclosure. Everything is all loaded. That's the electronic file with Lake Minnetonka office. And you can come back to any of these documents and pull them up. So if you need to review something for some reason, that's where it's stored.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either rely on command to store it. I rely on this, but I also have my backup. I've got on my desktop, I've got all my buyers and all my sellers listings.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions have you got for me?
None that spring to mind immediately. But down the road, if I end up having specific questions about forms and whatnot, I can reach out to either you or Trey. Am I correct? Okay.
Yep. My obligation is to keep you all out of realtor jail. It's not a pretty place. It's not a pretty place. And this is a little humor, but it's also to drive the point home.
Mm-hmm.
If you are having doubts about something, pretend that you are standing in the courtroom in front of the judge, and the judge asks you, did you do this? Or why did you do that? And you have to answer the judge. Will you be able to do it? Clear conscience and not get yourself in trouble.
Oh boy.
So, in front of the judge, with my agents, of course.
Right.
And just be honest, disclose what you know. And more importantly, if there's something that you don't know, call. Just call. It's better to call. I do answer my phone. My cell phone is with me all the time. Just call. I'd rather you think you have a silly question than to have you in trouble.
Makes sense.
A Department of Commerce investigation or an ethics complaint and having to go downtown, none of them are fun. You don't want to get involved with that. And lawsuits are even less fun. So knock on wood, my goal is to be lawsuit free every single year. But realize that every consumer has the right to file a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'm going to have all of my documentation, either in paper or electronic, and I'm going to be able to prove my case beyond a shadow of the doubt. All righty. Any other questions, guys?
I can't think of any.
Oh, you're making it easy for me. Okay. Well, thank you. All right. So when Wendy says, was it a great class? Oh, it was the best class you've ever had. I've never had a class quite like that. Oh, thank you, Marco. You guys are funny. All right. Well, hope to see you around in the office one of these fine days. And you may or may not recognize me with the mask on, but I've got my COVID hair. I mean, it just keeps getting longer and longer. I keep threatening to put it in a ponytail.
Ooh, that'd be something. Are we all going to be at the
Hope to see you. Yeah.
tomorrow? I think.
All
it
right,
is?
yeah. At the community gathering, the social.
Mhm.
No, I've got a conflict at that same time.
All right.
So
That's too bad.
networking event. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, guys, we'll have fun. And like I
Thank
said,
you
if you got
For
problems,
sure.
questions, whatever, just give me a growl.
Will
Thank
do.
you so much.
All righty, I
Thanks for your
gotta
time.
figure out how to turn this off now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care, everybody.